I'm not going to say that, though. All right. Oh, I'm on. All right, let's get going with class. Reggie said he neglected to have anybody to introduce me, so then I'm going to compliment myself, but I'm going to blame it on Reggie. I'm going to say that he would say that I'm an amazing person and you're really going to enjoy me today and that I'm the greatest person he's ever met. I'm sure Reggie would have said that. But actually what's true is that my name is Eric McPherson. I'm the Executive Director of Christian Family Services up there. They're having CFS Day here at O'Fallon. I'm really glad to be here to tell you what we do. If you're like me, I worked at CFS part-time for years as a counselor, and I still didn't know everything we did. I mean, I know it's a counseling baby agency. They do something with kids. But I didn't know exactly what we did. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we do. I'm going to tell you a little bit about our history, and then hopefully tie it in to something Jesus would say, because I don't want you to come to church and just hear an infomercial about CFS, right? Nobody's coming here just to hear a commercial. So we're going to work through this, and then hopefully at the end, I'll leave room for questions. If you have questions for me, I probably won't be able to answer them, but our board president, Brenda Cody, is here, and she can answer any questions that you have about CFS. Does that sound good? All right. We're going to start with a phrase we say all the time: many have no one be their someone. What we mean by that is, I grew up in the Church of Christ. I grew up in Little Rock, Arkansas. I went to the Geyer Springs Church of Christ. We had 800 people on a Sunday morning. I loved church. It was awesome. The singing was amazing. I went to a Christian middle school and high school, Central Arkansas Christian in Little Rock, Arkansas. I loved school. I went to school when I was sick. My mom would say to me, "Why don't you stay home today?" And I'd be like, "Nah, I think I'll be okay. I want to go to school." I loved it that much, right? It was just a great experience. I went to Harding University. Throughout my life, I have never not known more support than I needed. I had 1,000 people I could have called on for a little money, gas, jump my car, what should I do, get some advice, can I stay here for the night? I've had 1,000 people at my disposal to get help. But there are many people in St. Louis that have no one. It astounds me to this day. They have no parents. Either they are cut off from their parents or their parents have died. They have no siblings. Either the relationship is broken or they don't keep in touch or their siblings have died. They have no one to call when they just need someone to watch the kids for a couple hours. No one to call when their car battery died and they need a jump. No one to call when maybe the heat goes off or the air conditioning goes out and they just want to spend the night because it's too hot in St. Louis summers for them to stay in their apartment. They have no one. And so at CFS, we try to be there someone. And as an extension, you are too. Today is CFS Day here at O'Fallon. You're doing your part just by showing up and listening to be there someone. So I appreciate you being here today. I appreciate Reggie and all those that put their effort and time and thought into making this a CFS Day. We're really appreciative because we can't do this alone. We cannot do this by ourselves. We need help. We need support. And I appreciate you doing that. So here's a little bit of the history that you may not know. In 1972, 4 guys got together to discuss the Lord's work in St. Louis because a woman named Joanne Carter stood up in a Bible class at church. I don't know if it was a Sunday morning or a Wednesday night, and she said, "Hey, what more can we do to help families and children in St. Louis?" Well, that was a good question. It was kind of a seed, a little mustard seed that was planted. It sparked a conversation between these 4 men, and they thought, well, let's try something. Let's do something. And so it was started in 1973 as an adoption and child welfare organization. And their first fundraising dinner, 281 people showed up. That's pretty good. And they raised $5,000, which if at our annual dinner celebration gathering today we raised $5,000, I would consider that a great disappointment. But in 1973, that was a lot of money. And that little bit of money helped start our agency and helped get us going. So what started as a little question and a discussion has become now this large tree of services that includes foster care, adoption, pregnancy support, counseling, and transitional housing. We'll go into all those a little bit later on. The kingdom of God is like a mustard seed, the smallest seeds on all the earth. Yet when planted, becomes big, huge, so that birds can nest in its perch. And that's what we've become. I just came from a conference in Atlanta. We got an award that I submitted us for because they give awards if you have an anniversary. And last year was our 50th anniversary. So I said, well, we should celebrate that. And so they gave us this nice, beautiful award, and they clapped, and they called me up to receive the award. And I've never felt so unworthy to receive an award on behalf of an organization because I just got here. I just became the executive director last year. There was 50 years of work that went into CFS, and yet I'm the one standing up to get the award. But it should be Joanne Carter and Will Haynes and all those that sacrificed so much. But hopefully, what we're doing is starting the next 50 years. And so when I'm dead, because I will be dead someday, CFS celebrates their 100th anniversary, and somebody gets up to receive the award, and it's not going to be me because I won't be here. But it's because of the support that we've received that we've been able to thrive for 50 years, and we really appreciate that. What we say at CFS is that this large tree of services, a tree provides shade without judgment of who receives it. This past Thursday, I was standing outside for a little bit talking to Tim Ruiz, minister at the Maplewood Church of Christ, and it was a beautiful day, but we were standing in the shade because if you stood in the sun, it was just a tad little too hot, and it reminded me of this. The tree that I was standing under did not ask me what I believed. Didn't ask me where I came from. Didn't ask me what I've done. Didn't ask about my past. It didn't ask about my job. It didn't ask how much money I made. It just provided shade. And in CFS, that's what we do. We just provide shade for the weary travelers. We don't ask where they came from, what they believe, what they've done. We just provide shade. That's what trees do. This was our theme last year for our 50th celebration. We had a friend of mine, Ben Kelly, paint this painting, so that's an original. It's hanging in our office. We have several prints left over. If you want a free print, contact me, and you can get a small little print of this tree. And written above the roots is this scripture from Romans 11. It says, if the root is holy, so are the branches. That's what we try to be for our clients. We try to be their support system, their base, their roots, because their life is a little bit tangled, a little bit messy. And if we could provide them some support, some structure, then maybe they'll be holy too. And I don't mean holy in a perfect way. I just mean holy in a light way. What I mean by that is Jesus said, you're the light of the world. So we want people to be that light, reflect that light. And if we can be their roots, then maybe they can be better as branches. So this is kind of what I feel about running CFS. Because sometimes I think, who in the world put me in charge of CFS? Brenda, Cody, and the board did. And I wonder, do they really know me? Do they really know how incapable I am and how disorganized, right? We all have those thoughts of self-doubt. But I don't worry about it because I know there's a God that does more than I can do. And this verse reflects how I feel. This is what the kingdom of God is like. And you could substitute, this is what CFS is like. A man scatters seed on the ground night and day, whether he sleeps or gets up. The seed sprouts and grows, though he does not know how. It perfectly describes me. I don't know how it works. I just know it works. We do our best, and God takes care of the rest and provides the growth. All right. Have you ever seen our little building? Have you ever seen CFS? Well, if you haven't, there it is. We also have a photo from the 1900s. Somebody came by and dropped it off. This used to be the only house in the area. In 1900s, this was a farmhouse, and there was nothing else around except fields. Well, now we're surrounded by all kinds of little businesses and nooks and shops in Webster Groves. It's a neat little place, but that's where all the magic happens of CFS. You see that little circle up at the top? We have a third floor, and that's where we make the social workers go because the air is thin and it's hot up there, and I can't go up there. But they like it because it's a little bit warmer, and so we put them on the third floor. Second floor is counseling. First floor is where the admin magic happens, and they make sure that we get everything running. So 2022 is a typical year at CFS. So we'll go through the numbers. The numbers change from year to year, but it's about what it is every year. We have 589 child care days, over 4,000 counseling sessions. That's a lot of counseling. Do you remember this little thing that happened a few years ago called the pandemic? Anybody remember that? Well, that made our counseling load explode, and we had to switch to virtual counseling, which was a good thing. I don't like it because I'm old school. I'm a grumpy old man, so I want to see people face to face. But it is good to do virtual therapy because it allowed so much more access to people. It widened our circle of affection and influence and impact. And so we were able to increase our counseling numbers quite a bit. 28 pregnancy support clients, 40 children in child care, 11 licensed foster homes, 2 of which go to this church, the Ryderbergers and the Broadways. That's pretty awesome. So O'Fallon provides a big part of the base of support of CFS, and we're very grateful for that. 47 adoptive follow-up sessions. Here's 50 years by the numbers. Now, these numbers are probably a little bit off, 1 or 2, but it's pretty close. 74,000 child care days in 50 years. 68,000 counseling sessions in 50 years. 536 total pregnancy support clients. That's 531 pregnant women. 2,000 children, over 2,000 children in our child care, and over 300 adoptions. Side note, bit of good news, we had 2 adoptions this year already. How about that? Adoptions kind of went through a lull. There was a couple years where we didn't have any, and it seems like we're getting back on track. I don't know if it's the pandemic. We don't know exactly why, because the game is changing, but we had 2 adoptions in February and March, and we were super excited. I'd never been a part of an adoption ceremony, and they are incredible to be a part of. To see a child become part of a forever home is a really neat thing, so we're excited about that. Here's our staff. So some of our staff are here today. I'm going to ask them to stand up. I know they hate that. But Jody Mitchell, stand up, Jody. Come on, just thank you. Oh, there you go. Give the homecoming wave. Homecoming queen wave. She is our Director of Social Services and Director of Finance. So she does a lot. She oversees all our clinical social work, and then she helps with the budget and some of the fundraising and keeping things in line. So and how long have you been at CFS? How long have you been at CFS? 20 years at CFS. But she's very young. She started when she was 5, so yes. Reggie is her uncle. So, good connection there. To the right of Jody is Carla. Stand up. I know you hate this. Give a homecoming wave. There, Carla Rupke. She has the worst job at CFS. She coordinates all of our insurance filings and submissions and clients, and everybody here knows how weird it is to deal with insurance. Like even just dealing with auto insurance is a pain. Medical insurance is terrible. Mental health counseling insurance is a nightmare. Carla takes care of all that for us. We got Mary. We got Megan down at the bottom left. She's our adoption social worker. Miki Lau is in charge of our Selah Living program, which we'll talk about in just a second. Taylor is next, and she works with our maternity support program. Then we got Sarah Gentry, who just came in sitting in the back. Stand up, Sarah. Give away. Sarah, for years, was our Connect Care coordinator that dealt with our children in child care. She has now transitioned to a full-time therapist. A couple of months ago, you did over 90 sessions, right, in a month? In counseling world, that's a lot. So we appreciate Sarah and her desire to help people. We've got Lisa Randolph in the top left. She does part-time therapy for us. She keeps telling us she's going to retire and come full-time. I'll believe it when I see it, but we keep waiting for her to come over full-time for us. Sally Blackburn used to go to Lafayette, and she's a part-time therapist. Jeff Fabiano. You might recognize this old guy to the far right with the gray hair. His name is Steve Autry. You might remember him. He was the executive director for many, many years at CFS. And then Tia is down at the bottom left. She is now our Connect Care coordinator. She is brand new to the system, and we are so glad to find somebody to take Sarah's place because that's a hard job to fill. Not everybody wants that job because it is a very draining job emotionally. So we're glad to have our staff. Here's our mission. Our mission statement says we strive to love, serve, empower, and connect children, families, and individuals in our community. We're going to be talking about those 4 things in our sermon this morning, about how that relates to Luke chapter 4. But that's what we strive to do. We want to love, serve, empower, and connect people that don't have anybody to go to. So here's our services. Do you know what Connect Care means? When I say foster care, Connect Care, does everybody kind of have an idea of what that means? Or is anybody confused? Okay, well, we called it Connect Care because foster care kind of started to get I don't know, it just didn't sound as good, right? There were some negative connotations attached to that. So we call it Connect Care. That actually sounds better. But there are moms in this area that have no one. And if you're a single mom with 3 kids and you need to move into a new apartment, how are you going to do that? That's impossible. If you're a single mom and you've got 2 kids and you need surgery and it's maybe even outpatient, or maybe you have to be in the hospital just overnight, it's a simple surgery. How are you going to do that? If you have no one, that seems impossible. And that's where we can step in. We take their kids. It's temporary, voluntary homes. These people they're not licensed foster care homes to get rich. You do not get rich doing this. It is a complete sacrificial volunteer service that they do. They'll take them into their homes for a short time, 2 weeks, 3 months at most. And then we work with the mom the entire time. We stay connected, and we reunite the kids with the mom at some point. It's respite care. It's just a break. It's a bridge to the next place in their life. Maternity support is what Taylor works with. Many women don't know what to do. They face an unplanned pregnancy. They didn't intend to get pregnant. It's a terribly terrifying feeling. I've never felt that myself, but I could imagine that it's pretty scary. And they don't know what to do. And sometimes they'll call us out of the blue. And Taylor's really good at talking them through, here's your options, here's what we can do, here's what we can help you with. And even if they don't choose to place for adoption, we stay connected. We help them through whatever they need to do. We provide that support. We do adoptions. And so for a couple of years we didn't have any adoptions, but we were doing a ton of home studies because we can help people with, and if I say anything wrong, please correct me. Okay, just raise your hand and be like, no, that's not what we do. But if somebody wants to do an adoption out of state or international adoptions, we can still do the home study for that, even though we're not involved in the adoption at all. The thing I'm excited about most was started 2 years ago. It's our Selah Living program. It's transitional housing for young families facing a crisis. Homelessness is a growing big problem in St. Louis right now. And many people don't have the money to get into an apartment, because you know what you have to do when you get an apartment? First and last month's rent. That's a lot of money. And if you're a young person, you maybe haven't saved that chunk of money. That can be $1,500, $2,000. Well, who has that laying around? So Steve Autry said a couple of years ago, if we do really well in our annual dinner, fundraising dinner, if we raise over $200,000, we're going to start this program. Well, we did. And so we started the Selah Living program. We've just completed our first year in 2023 with 5 families in the program, and they're doing really well. And the way it works is we identify good candidates in our maternity support program, people we think might do well with this transitional housing, because not everybody can do well. Not everybody can pay bills in a timely manner and stay on top of it. They're just not able to live independently. But when we identify somebody we think will be a good fit, we present them with a contract. It's a pretty lengthy, detailed contract of what their expectations are and what our expectations are. And what we want to do is pay for them to get in an apartment of their choosing. So they get to pick the neighborhood, the area, the apartment they want. We help them with the first and last month's rent and the deposit. And then we'll pay for most everything at the beginning. We pay for rent, utilities. We make sure they have enough food. We make sure they get their child care coordinated. They get their transportation coordinated. We've helped pay off legal fees. We've helped get their cars fixed, because that's just money they don't have. But the intention of the program is, as we go through these 2 years together, we slowly step down our support so that by the end of the 2 years, they're completely independent on their own financially, economically, emotionally. They are stable. They don't rely on us anymore. And so I love the program. We have a social worker that goes out about every 2 weeks to meet with the families to make sure they're staying on track, because they have to save money. We're not giving them rent money so they can spend money on vacations. We're giving them rent money so that they can save money so that they can get out on their own. So Miki Lau goes out, looks at their bank accounts, talk about cleaning the house, talk about child care, talk about parenting tips. We talk about anything that might be impacting their life. This was not a story from our Selah Living program. This was just a story from church. There was a young family that obviously she did not grow up with an angry dad. She was renting from a friend, and she would turn the heat up in the winter, but when she got too hot, she would just open the windows to cool her apartment off, and her bills were outrageous. And I thought, well, you didn't grow up with an angry dad, because an angry dad would yell at you about the thermostat, right? That's what dads do. And you would learn, oh, I turned down the thermostat, I don't open the window. You wouldn't think you would, that seems like common sense to me. You wouldn't have to cover that. But you have to cover some of these things. If you didn't grow up with an angry dad, you don't know to clean the toilet all the time, right? If you didn't grow up with a mom, you might not know how to prepare food or budget or shop. So that's where we step in and provide some of these critical skills that allow them to go on and be independent without us. So we're super excited about the Sailor Living program. I do want to tell you that, okay, this is going to be weird, so stick with me. We just kicked out our first client out of the Sailor Living program. We had to terminate their participation. And I'm at once sad about that, but I'm also kind of proud about that. And I want to tell you that because I want you to know we're not just giving away free money. There are expectations. And when our clients don't live up to these expectations, we give them multiple chances to correct. And this one client just simply refused. And we had to say, you know, we're so sorry, but you can't participate in Sailor Living anymore because we want someone to come in that will take advantage of this opportunity, not waste this opportunity. Now, when we kicked this person out of Sailor Living, we're not kicking them out of the Kingdom or CFS. They can still access all our other services. They can come to counseling. They can be part of our pregnancy support. They can use Connect Care. We're not saying no to them overall. We're just saying you can't participate in this very specific, strict program that requires you to do certain things. And when you don't do those certain things, we have to conclude your participation in the program. So I know that's weird to say that, but I want you to know we're being frugal with the money that we're giving. We're being purposeful and intentional with the money that we're given to help people. We don't want to waste it. We also have professional counseling. That's what I've done for 20 plus years until I transitioned into the executive director role. And you know, it has been the best thing for me. I'm going to tell you that being a therapist has benefited me probably more than I've benefited other people. Because when you meet with 1,000 different people, you learn a lot of stuff. And I am honored to meet with atheists, Muslims, Jewish people, Buddhist people, Church of Christ people, Christian people, people who are nothing. It's amazing to me the people that come to CFS. Because if I were seeking counseling, I'm not sure I would go to Buddhist Family Services. There's not one. But if there were one, I would not seek counseling from Buddhist Family Services. That's just my own belief system. I would want somebody who has a faith story from the Bible to give me advice and wisdom. But I'm consistently amazed that people come to Christian Family Services. I mean, we're pretty explicit in our title, what we do. And these people outside of the kingdom come to us seeking help. Now, sometimes it's just because we're on their insurance. They don't really care about Christianity at all. But we're convenient, we're available, and I think we do a good job. We don't push or protest. We are just there simply to provide support, like a tree provides shade for rest. We are there to provide shade for rest for this weary traveler. And then they hopefully move on their way. We're not looking for lifetime clients. We want people to come in, get help, move on. But they come back sometimes because you hit different bumps and seasons in your life. And then we do seminars. I did a seminar here when was it, Reggie? I did a marriage seminar here last year? Yeah. We do short seminars. The world's changed. We used to do all-day seminars on a Saturday. Nobody's got time for that nonsense anymore, and 8 hours is exhausting. So we do these short little mini seminars on parenting and marriage and all kinds of things, 3.5 hours or so on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday evening. They're a lot of fun. If seminars can be fun, they are a lot of fun, and we really enjoy doing that. All right, what do we need? Always we need money. The more money we have, the more people we help. We don't have a large endowment like WashU. WashU has one of the largest endowments in the land. I don't know, it's millions, if not billions of dollars. We don't have that, right? We live on a shoestring budget. Money comes in, money goes out, because we use that to help people. And I love that our board says, look, if we get money, we need to spend the money, right? We're not putting it in the bank. We're going to use it to help people. 85% of every dollar collected goes directly to client services so that you know that your money is being used wisely. We do not have a CFS jet plane or helicopter, which is very sad to me, but my board won't allow me to buy a helicopter so that I can travel around town. They want me to use my car. So we don't waste money. We don't have vacation homes. We don't send employees on lavish vacations. Most of the money goes directly out the door to client services. side little note, Pregnancy Resource Center tax credit, since we just passed the tax season, is a great way to save money. If you don't know about it, ask me. It's amazing. I don't know why the state of Missouri does it, but if you give a $1,000 donation to CFS, you get to write off 70% of that off your taxes. You get a 70% tax credit with the state of Missouri. So if you give us $1,000 and you owe Missouri $700 in your taxes, you no longer owe them any money. You get a dollar for dollar credit for that. You still get to deduct that off your federal, so it ends up costing you much less than what you would think. I don't know why the state of Missouri does it, but I'm really glad because that has been a big benefit to us over the years. You get to donate, we get the money, you save money, it works for everybody. True, but for their budget purposes, I still don't know why the state of Missouri does it. They can make a lot more money. Absolutely, because so we all know that the government is pretty good at a couple of things. I mean, it's pretty good at building roads and bridges. It's pretty good at building an army. It's not so good at the person-to-person contact. It's not so good at the social services. And the state of Missouri would rather independent agencies with feet on the ground do that contact work, connect work directly. So, yes. Mm-hmm. No, you can give more or less. Just, I'm not a math guy. I talk about shapes and feelings and colors all day. And so keeping it in round numbers is easy for me. But the most you can give in any 1 year is $50,000. That's the most. So, Bernie, I know you wanted to give more than that. I appreciate that, but we're going to have to say no. Just 50,000, okay? That is a good point. But yeah, a lot of people take advantage of it because they owe the state of Missouri a lot of taxes. So you can give more than 1,000. That's just the example. You can give less. We don't want to do it for, I think the minimum is 500, just because we don't want to get caught up in all the paperwork that we have to do. So 500 is the minimum, and then you can give up to 50,000 in a single year. So if you want to take advantage of that and write me a check today for $50,000, I will gladly take it. It rolls over. So if you don't use the whole amount 1 year, you can use it the next year. It's a credit that stays on the books. Yes, sir.
I'm glad we've got members in the congregation here that have been blessed where they can go with bigger numbers. I was trying to break down to $10.
Yeah.
But I do have another question.
Yes, sir.
What is your relationship, or what type of relationship do you have with other adoptive services like Church of Christ children's homes throughout the country, or the Midwest, Schultz, Lewis, etc.?
Yeah.
How do you work with them? Do you have children that go to them, or they have children that come to you, or?
Not typically. Now, we work with them in the sense that we belong to a network called Network 127. It's a group of Church of Christ agencies like us. Some of them are children's homes. Some of them are adoption agencies. Some of them do it a little bit different, or they're a blend. And it's based on 3 scriptures from chapter 1, verse 27 of Genesis, 1 Samuel, and I forget the last one. Deuteronomy, that talk about how the heart of God is caring for children. And so it's a network of agencies like us from Colorado to Florida that do similar things like us. And so we stay connected in that way. But correct me if I'm wrong, we don't take children from a children's home and adopt, or take children from a mom and place. We don't have that kind of relationship, right? Did everybody hear that? I know she doesn't have a mic. Were you able to hear that? Yeah. So every children's home kind of has their own way of getting their kids. And so we work with them in support, but we don't necessarily shuttle kids back and forth. They have their own way of getting kids. We have our own way. And they're all a little bit different. And they're also in different states. So different states have different rules and laws that govern that agency that would be slightly different than what we do. We do share a network. We do share information. They are still in operation. They're a little bit smaller than us, I believe. I think so. It's kind of hard to judge. They've been through some struggles themselves with just changing staff, but they are still in operation. They came to our golf tournament. We went to their golf tournament. We support each other, but we don't share clients. We don't share monies. What clients? Not counseling. Adoptive clients? Okay. What she said is sometimes we share adoptive families. If we have a child but no families and they have a family, we might borrow their family to make a connection with a child or vice versa. Good. All right, real quick, just 5 minutes and then we'll have time for questions. Why do we do what we do? I mean, the answer is simple. It's all because of Jesus. There's a great book by John Ortberg called The Inescapable Impact of the, I forget the adjective he used for Jesus, but The Inescapable Impact of Jesus. That details basically everything we have today, from hospitals to childcare to education, came from the teachings of Christ. Nobody thought about taking care of kids. They might have, but it certainly wasn't a thing to take care of children in his time. Children were seen as useless, defenseless, unimportant. And he came along saying, you've got to become like a little child. Let the little children come to me. And I'm sure that the leaders of Rome, when people came to Caesar and said, hey, there's this guy that's a threat to the structure of Rome. Okay, what's he talking about? Well, he said we've got to become like little kids. I can imagine the laughter that permeated the room when they heard that that was his message. You've got to become like little kids? Okay, so how's this guy a threat? We'll talk about that in the sermon in a little bit, that this is an upside-down kingdom. It doesn't make sense according to how the world works, yet it works so much better. So the reason we do everything we do at CFS is with Christ and his teachings in mind. So I did a small group study with my small group at church. We studied the book of Mark. It's my favorite gospel. It's short, sweet, powerful, punches you in the face right from the beginning. It doesn't go into this, he was born a small child. It's like he was the Son of God, and then it gets right to the miracles, right? So I love Mark. It's straight and to the point. We did about a 3-year study, which was entirely too long probably, in the book of Mark. But there's so many stories in the book of Mark. It's so filled with this imagery and power and teachings. And so there's 3 things that I pulled personally from the study of the book of Mark. And it's that anything's possible, nothing matters, and everything can be different. So we're going to talk about anything, everything, and nothing for just about 2 minutes, and then we'll see if you have any questions at the end. Look, if this guy can feed 5,000 people, if he can walk on water, which I do not understand the physics of that, I have a lot of questions about that. Was he going up and down with the waves? Was he walking like it was smooth underneath? I don't know how he did that. I believe he did that. I just don't understand because I didn't see it. If he can raise the dead, if he can heal a blind person and a deaf person, then look, anything's possible. Nothing's off the table now, right? So there are a lot of crazy beliefs out there. Some people believe in aliens from other planets. Some people believe in Bigfoot. My answer to that is maybe. I believe in a guy that came back from the dead. So there's nothing crazier than that. So nothing's off the table. Now, I watch those Bigfoot shows. I'm not convinced, right? They always hear a sound, but I never see video, so I don't believe in that. But I do believe in this guy that came back from the dead, and that is the craziest belief of all, right? I believe it to my soul, but it doesn't make sense. And if he can do that, anything's possible. In Mark 5, he heals a demon-possessed man. that lived in the cemetery, was naked a lot, cut himself with rocks, and couldn't be bound by chains. Everybody was afraid of this guy. And if he can heal him and then send him out to be his spokesperson, then nothing matters. And I don't mean this way. I taught this at Maryland Heights on a Wednesday night, and somebody come up to me and said, I would never tell anybody that nothing matters. I'm like, I don't mean nothing matters. I mean, nothing matters. Do you hear the difference? Nothing matters anymore. Everything we were told that's important, money, status, degrees, homes, cars, bank accounts, none of that matters to Jesus. He took this naked, crazy man that was demon-possessed and sent him out as his spokesperson to the town. Right? You know the story. Legion, 100 evil spirits into the pigs. 2,000 pigs die. Of course, the town was upset because they just lost a lot of money. And bacon, by the way, right? I'd be mad too. So they asked Jesus to leave. This naked, crazy man says, can I come with you? Jesus says, no. You go tell people what God has done for you. Now, if I'm on Jesus' marketing team, I'm in the back and I'm like, hey, Jesus, wait, can we talk about that for a second? That is not the guy you want to send out to be your spokesperson. You want the mayor. You want the basketball player. You want the beauty queen. You want the rich guy. You want those people to be your spokesperson. You don't want this crazy naked guy to be your spokesperson. Yet Jesus didn't care about image because nothing matters to him. None of that stuff that matters to us in this world matters to him. Interestingly, a few chapters later in Mark, when he goes back to that region, the people that were then mad at him because they lost all their bacon now come out in crowds and multitudes to hear what he has to say. So that guy did his job. He was a great spokesperson for Jesus, yet from a marketing standpoint, he was the wrong choice. But that doesn't matter to Jesus. Everything can be different. In Mark 3, Jesus challenges the understanding of the Sabbath teaching because he was healing people on the Sabbath, and they got mad about that. They were like, you can't do that. That's work. We're not supposed to work on the Sabbath. And he said something crazy. He said, I'm the Lord of the Sabbath. Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. And he changed our understanding of what religion and culture might be because he's willing to do things completely different. I want our clients to know you're not stuck. Everything can be different. Your entire life can change. You don't have to be who you always were. You can be something new and different. That's our story. I'll leave it open to questions if you have any questions. If not, we'll end class early and you can grab coffee or go to the bathroom, which is what usually people do during the break. Any questions on what we do, how we do it, any comments? Reggie? So my vision, I need to repeat the question, my board president says to me. Yes, ma'am. So the question was, with the Selah Living Transitional Housing Program, is that going to be expanded to something else, next steps, or what's our vision for that program? By the way, I should say Selah is a Hebrew word meaning to pause and to rest. And so that's what we want to give our clients, a break. They just need a break to get to the next place in their life. My vision for Selah Living, because we have 4 families now, we're about to add another one. Mickey Lau's in charge. We've come to find out that one social worker can manage about 5 to 8 families. That's about their max. We didn't know that till we got into it. We also found out it takes about $1,600 a month just to cover the basics in St. Louis. A 2-family apartment is about $1,200. You add utilities on top of that, you're at $1,600 just to cover the basics. Not food, not car insurance, not other stuff. That's just the basics. And so my vision is that we expand that program so that Miki Lau would be the director of the Selah program with, for example, 5 social workers underneath her with 5 to 8 families underneath them. So I'd love to, because we could expand it today if we had the money. We don't advertise Selah Living on our website, so if you go to our website to look for it, you won't find it, and there's a reason for that. If we put it on the website, we would be inundated with phone calls. We would have to hire another staff person just to take phone calls to deal with Selah Living because there's such a need for housing in St. Louis. So my goal is if we keep getting the money in, we can start expanding that program. We still want to keep it to about 2 years till they're fully on their feet and they move on. Mikila also had a great idea. I'll give her complete credit for this. She said by the time they graduate the program successfully, we want to give them a little savings account. We're thinking maybe $1,000 in a money market fund that they can access, but not immediately, to teach them how to save and invest. And so that'll be their kind of parting gift if they graduate the program successfully. And so that's kind of my vision, but we're also open to it evolving as it goes along. We're figuring it out as we go. We got a question, then a question. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, so here's my answer to that. Thank you, Brenda. How do people know about the Selah Living program if it's not on our website? Number one, word gets around. I play basketball on Tuesday night at McKnight. I have for 20 years. We don't advertise basketball. Trust me, word gets around. We actually had to change it to invitation only because one night, 45 guys showed up to a very small court to play basketball. Well, that's ridiculous. We had to shut it down. It's invitation only now. And still, people bring people because it's basketball. People love basketball, right? It's kind of that way with Selah Living. Trust me, word gets around. We've already had clients say, hey, I know somebody. People hear things, and then it travels. But if we put it on the website, we'd be inundated. So you have something to say, then we have a question, then a question.
Okay, something to say.
It's based on the clients. What does that mean? It's based on the client's needs.
So if the client needs something way more like their goal is home ownership, we will help them figure that out. So it's like the expansion is basically whatever the ones that we're working with need. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so one client had some HUD housing, and so we were paying $8 for her, $12 or something for her rent. So we were able to put more of that money into helping repair her car. And so each client has different needs. It's not cookie cutter. We work with each one as they go. So one client may not have to pay for rent because they get that through another program. So then we'll take care of other needs in their life.
And then if our clients are coming from the pregnancy support and connecting your mom. So when we see somebody who's super motivated and really needs a break in life, those are our ones that we're like, hey, we see something in you. We want to invest.
So we vet our clients through the pregnancy support program. Some people aren't a good fit for this program, and if we think somebody is, then we move them into the Selah Living. All right, 2 questions. I haven't forgotten about you. Yes, sir.
Out of all of this, what's being done to lead these people to Jesus?
So we don't evangelize. We give cups of cold water. We let Jesus do the work. Because he said, even if you give a cup of cold water to a little one of these, you will not lose your reward. And what that means is it will not lose its effect or impact. Look, we are Christian Family Services. In my counseling, if it fits their faith perspective, I talk about Jesus freely. If it doesn't fit their faith perspective, I don't. I had a client come in once who had been horribly traumatized by a therapist in a church. She said, I don't want to talk about God. Okay. It's all the same thing. I don't care what you call it. It all comes from the teachings of Christ. By the 8th session, she brought up God. Now we can talk about it. But I have to meet them where they're at. And then through our example, through our work, they'll come to know Jesus. Now, I don't know. I'm not saying what that means. I'm not saying they're going to go to the Church of Christ and get baptized. But we don't expressly evangelize. We are the light to them, is my answer to that. Hang on. And then we got a question in the back. We could. Here's the problem. That little house I showed you, yeah, that's it. So we have a little annex in the back to house diapers and wipes, and that thing is packed full. And so we just don't have the place. Probably a better option is, what's that care place that we were told about? Sharing Shed is not it, but is that one? Sarah, what is that agency that we just learned? Caring. So there is a website and a network where churches can go on and say, hey, I have a need for a couch. And then they connect you to agencies or people that have that. And I can't remember the name of it right now, but I'll try to get it to you. What? No, there might be a couple. I'll try to think of it. But we can't, what we want to do is respect the dignity of these clients and give them new things. Because what happens a lot of times in teen rooms, if you've ever furnished a teen room, teens understand this, is that, oh, I'm getting a new couch. I have a couch, it's slightly used, a couple of stains, but it's in good shape. My cat scratched one side of it, but the rest of it's good. We'll give it to the teen room. And then teens don't care, and they spill soda on it or whatever, and then it recycles on. We don't want to do that. We want to give them new stuff that respects their dignity, because this is going to be their forever home, we hope. All right, we got to wrap up. Last thing. Okay, so if you want to donate, give us a call. A family might have a need for a couch, mattress, chair, whatever you're trying to get rid of. You can give us a call. We just can't store it. We don't have that much room. And then we're always referring our clients to local churches. So be careful when you have visitors come in. It might be a client from CFS coming to check it out, right? You never know who's coming in your doors. So thank you. I appreciate your time and attention. Let's take a break. We got worship in about 10 minutes.